Okay, welcome to the stream, everybody. Let's take a look at what we're going to be doing here today. And let me just get this out on the socials. So just give me 2 seconds to quickly make sure that my audio is working and make sure that I can see everybody in the chat room. So just give me a second to get this up and running. Okay. Yep, sounds working. Okay, good. And let me quickly share this out on a couple social networks and we'll get going shortly. Thanks for joining, everyone. There's the tweet. And let's put this out on LinkedIn as well. Just give me a second to get going here. And we're going to have some fun here today interacting with ChatGPT as well as some network automation work. Come join my live artificial intelligence network automation development stream on YouTube. Bring your questions for AI. Let's make this interactive today. And I'm going to add some network automation. Artificial intelligence, stream, live, YouTube. Let me add a couple more here. Django, Python, pyATS, Cisco, Postgres. Okay. All right, so my posts are up and we're here live on YouTube. So the first thing I'm going to do, you can see I have the models up. I have access to GPT-4 now. So I'm going to quickly refactor all of my code, particularly show logging, which I seem to run out of tokens on. And this is also up to date to September 2021. So let's quickly grab this latest model. And I'm working in the DevNet sandbox today. I have this CML up. And I have two, just so I have cross-platform. I have an XR and an XE device that we can access through the automation. So those are the devices. I'm on the pyATS parsers here. I'm going to start with show IP interface brief. I've already done a couple other commands, which we'll explore. But what I like about show IP interface brief is that there's an XR, an XE, an NXOS parser, and an iOS parser. So I don't need to handle the operating system. Every one of the major operating systems has a show IP interface brief parser. So we're going to use that parser today against this CML in this DevNet sandbox. Now the server's down and we're going to start a development first. And let me close that. I don't need that. So I already have, you can see here, maybe let me make the zoom better for everybody. Zoom in. And I'm watching the chat sort of on the side. So if you want to say hello or if you have any questions or anything, just let me know. Let me get the environment set up here a little bit. And we have our zoom in. So I'm going to be making a new button that kicks off a job that does show IP interface brief. You can see I have some show version analysis and some interface state analysis. We're going to be using some of those as our inspiration for this. And I think with show version, if I quickly take a look, am I using the parsed or the execute? I'm using parse. Okay, so we're going to use this as our example, as our sample. So we're live here on YouTube. We're going to take a minute to build this, and then we're going to think of some prompts on how to interact with show IP interface brief parse JSON command. So I like to start at the very root of my folder and work my way down. So I have to update some spinners because there's buttons I'm going to press, and I'm updating those buttons and their spinners and their actions. So my first spinner is going to be like, I should have a show version in here. We're going to copy that and we're going to update it to show, right, IP interface brief, show IP interface brief. Now I'm going to do the same thing a little further down. I'm going to find my show version button and I'm going to make a show IP interface brief button. Hey Ruben, thanks for joining. Hey Ruben, how's it going? Where are you in the world? I'm just outside of Ottawa, so we're going to change this to show IP interface brief button. And we're going to take that to, right, so the first thing I need to do is take my spinner that I just created and put that in as my spinner's action. So what you can see is before I push the button, this spinner is not visible. And while the button is running the Python in the background, I want to make this spinner visible. So that's what the purpose of this is. So that they're not just sitting there on an empty screen. We have a nice little spinner. So we're going to change this to show IP interface brief analysis. And we're all done with our main JavaScript static file. The next thing we're going to do is go into templates. And we have an on-demand center where we have these different on-demands for these buttons. We're going to copy show version and just paste it. And we're going to rename this to show IP interface brief analysis results. And then we're going to clean this up a bit. Show IP interface brief. Show IP interface brief. Now we have the host name, the show IP interface brief output, the persona, the question, and the answer. I'm going to change this from show version to show IP interface brief. And that all looks good. I mean, it says config answers. I could change that, but that's fine for now. That's just our table name. So that's our HTML page. And then I'm not quite done with our HTML. I need to make a link to this, and I'm in the, all right, so I should have a show version button here, row here. So I'm going to take that and let's put it in order. So I have show interface state. Let's put it here and call it analyze IP interface state, and this is our show IP interface brief button. We're going to say analyze IP interface brief, and then our spinner, show IP interface brief. And that should be all we need to do here. Now, our reference where we're going to take this is to show IP interface brief analysis all and the results. Okay, so we're all done with that page. And then in our HTML, we're going to do a similar thing here. Like we have show version analysis. We're going to copy that whole folder and call this show IP interface brief analysis. Rename this file show IP interface brief analysis. And then we're going to update this file here from show version. And let's just quickly do a find replace here to interface brief. And this here needs to be IP interface brief. Okay, so we're all done with our HTML except for our, I think there's an all results page somewhere in here. I think that's what I just did was the analysis all. So that's all results in HTML. I don't need to change my base HTML file for anything. Okay, so we're all done with our templates. We're all done with our static. Now what we need to do, what I'm going to do first is our models. And we're going to come back to admin. Well, let's do it. We can do them in alphabetical. Let's do admin. So there's going to be two new models that we want on our admin page. Right? We want our show IP interface brief prompts, and our show IP interface brief analysis. And you'll see this in the models in a second. So we go into our models next, and I'm going to copy my two show version models and rename them, and then I'll go over what's in these models. Now these models are what's translated into the database, and we migrate them from these Python models into Postgres. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add two new models, our show IP interface brief prompts, which has our server, our user, and our timestamp. And that's what we're going to template, and we're going to return the template formatting of that. So then we're going to do show IP interface brief analysis, and I'm going to change this show version here to show IP interface brief, which means I have to replace it here as well. And that is what's being returned in the view. In those templates you saw me reference these different fields. Well, the view loads this data from the database, and that's how we can present it. So I've done my admin, I've done my models. Now I need to match my URLs. So I'm not quite done with my URLs, but the thing is, my URLs in this case are inherited from on-demand URLs. So there's one URL I need to make, which is the HTML view, so that when the user types in show IP interface brief analysis /all, they'll get all of the results from this table in the database. So I'm going to change that to show IP interface brief analysis, and I need to make a view. Notice there's views. Well, I need to make a matching view for show IP interface brief, and I'll do that in a second, in my views. Now, I need to make that view that I just created, but then I need to go into my ChatGPT on-demand URLs, and you'll see that in a second. So let's make our view, and what I'm going to import here is the analysis. So I should have a show version analysis in here, and I do. I'm going to copy that, and I'm importing that from .models, right? So I'm bringing in that model, show IP interface brief analysis, and now I need to make the matching view. And here's my show version view. I'm going to copy that and make my show IP interface brief view, which calls my show IP interface brief database object all, and I'm returning that as an answer list for show IP interface brief analysis /show IP interface brief analysis all, and I'm passing in that context, which is loaded from my objects all. All right, let's keep going on to our next set of views and URLs, which is not in Brainiac. We're all done with these files here. We need to move into our on-demand center and make our URL and our view that actually runs our Python code. So this is the on-demand. This is what will respond to the button push, right? So this is going to be show IP interface brief analysis, show IP interface brief on demand, show IP interface brief analysis on demand. And now I need my view, and my view has to take in my analysis again. From my models, oops, because I'm going to be writing data to this database now. All right, so this is what I'm going to trigger my pyATS job and then write the data to the database. Right, so there's my show version. Show IP interface brief. Show IP interface brief. Show IP interface brief analysis. Show IP interface brief with the timestamp. All right, so now I need to write my Python code, I believe. My ChatGPT is ready to go. So what I'm going to do is take my show version here and just copy those. And we're going to just refactor those a little bit. Yep, that's right. And this has to call show IP interface brief. And here we go. Now we can actually get into the show IP interface brief code. So I have to change these quickly. Show IP interface brief analysis. Show IP interface brief prompts. Load my prompts. And now, for each device in my testbed, parsed show IP interface brief equals parse show IP interface brief. And I'm going to quickly change this to show IP interface brief analysis. And I need to update the value in here. We show IP interface brief equals parsed show IP interface brief and our timestamp. Now, right, I want to change this up a little bit. Hang on. That shouldn't be the analysis, should it? I just have to check something real quick here. What am I doing here? Parsing that, and then I only have the host name and interface brief up here. Let me undo this. Hang on, I gotta see what table. Show version analysis by ChatGPT. But if I go to my model here for, I gotta refer to my model real quick. Models. Prompts, and then what am I writing here in this first one? I shouldn't be even writing anything here right now. Version is done a little bit differently. All right. I just had to catch myself here. And let's close some of these down. All right, so if that is not none for the prompts, and this needs to be an F string, and I need to quickly look at my show interface analysis. Prompt.server. So for prompt, and I guess I should be doing for each interface in the IP interface brief. Yeah, so I need another loop here. And I don't need to print my prompt. And I don't need to print my result. All right, let's close this down. And let's go step by step here. So for interface, in interface value in parse show IP interface brief.items, for prompt, and my prompt is going to be prompt.server, and this is going to be prompt.user, and then my parsed, I guess it's actually going to be interface value. Might pass it the value of each interface. And then write the answer. And this should be show IP interface brief analysis. And my server should be, now this needs to be for each prompt. Do this. Right. Okay, so then my server is going to be prompt.server. And my user is going to be prompt.user. And that needs to be interface value, I guess. And that needs to be show IP interface brief. Okay, and then let's just comment out the WebEx for now. Hey Steven, how's it going? Sorry I haven't checked the chat in a while. Thanks for joining. So we need prompts, and then this is going to be per interface for show IP interface brief. And just while we're building this, let's print the interface is interface, the interface value is interface value, and then our prompts down here, let's print, we ask ChatGPT server.user. I guess I should do the prompt first, and that's not server, it's prompt. Prompt.server to be a server, and we ask ChatGPT. we could just say ChatGPT is acting like blank. We ask ChatGPT blank, and then we're going to print ChatGPT answered. Something like this, and then write it to the database. We'll worry about the WebEx in a second. All right, so now we got to do some Docker work. We're going to build this now and try to bring it up. Let me make sure my Docker is free of images. It is. So Docker build t tag -f for my Docker file dot, and it's mostly cached except for my new layers. And now we're going to say docker -compose up and give this a shot. Hey Fernando, thanks for joining. How's it going? I appreciate you joining. All the boring code stuff is done. I know that took maybe 20 minutes to do, but and then it'll just take a second for this server to come up, and then we'll take a look at well, is my Heimdall up? Yeah, so Heimdall's up. So I have these different areas here, and I have to wait for my main server to come up. But we have our admin dashboard where my Django backend is, where we're going to put our prompts in. We have our on-demand analysis center where we push our buttons for on-demand analysis that uses the prompts and the network data. Config management, which I can show you, have changed to a form. And then our test center, which right now just has interface tests. And then if you want to browse the results, you can browse through the results. So it's still coming up. I'm just going to check on socials real quick. How's everybody doing in the YouTube? Thanks for joining. Yeah, not much doing. Okay. Let's see, is the server back up? Not yet. And let me just make sure my device connections are still good. I haven't signed into them in a while. And I'm actually not using I'm using 176. Okay, good. And I think I'm using 178. Yeah, all right, good. So my connections to my two devices are good. My parser should work on both devices because it works on NXOS and iOS XE. And okay, here's the server. So no errors, which is good. And you can see that it's created the model here, show IP interface brief. My two models, new models are created. So it looks like we're all set. We can go into the admin dashboard, and I should have, right, show IP interface brief analysis and prompts. Okay, so we have an error here. Oh, I know why. I know why. Stupid. Ugh. Sorry, that's my mistake. Docker compose down -- volumes. The reason why that failed is because you can see I already have a database. So this is going to be awkward. I'm going to have to turn off my screen while I put in my new data. How can I do that? So I need to remove that database. And then I'm going to need to make my screen black after the server's up so I can put in my private keys into the back end. So you'll just have to bear with me. I'm going to just turn off my screen once the server's up. And let me go get a WebEx key. This is the developer.webex.com, by the way. And if you go under reference here, and then whatever messages, and then a get, this little button here will let you get a key. So I need to put a key in for the WebEx integration. I guess the WebEx is commented out, so I technically don't need that. But I still need to put in my OpenAPI key and my, oh, and I'm not quite done here. I wanted to change it to GPT-4. Well, we'll leave it for now, and then I'll change it to GPT-4 the next time I bring down the server. So as soon as it comes up, I'll figure out how to turn off my my screen sharing real quick, populate my database, and then we can have a little bit of fun. I didn't even think about that. Sorry about that, everybody. Everything's coming up, and then I'm going to need... All right, so it's still coming up, and then I've got to just quickly put in some secret data with the screen not shared, but let's just let this come up. Come on. This always seems to take the longest when everybody's watching. Okay, so it's up. All right, so let me quickly turn off my screen. Okay, and I'm still here, but you cannot see my screen. I'm just going to make sure that that's true on my live stream here before we get going. Oh, I'm still having a bit of a problem. Okay, just give me 2 seconds here. The screen's going to stay black. I'm going to talk you through it. I don't know why that... Oh, I know why. Okay, I just have to bring it down and back up again. There was a bit of an issue. I didn't actually delete the database. Alright, so now let's bring it up. Okay, not a bad time to get a coffee or take a break. This is going to take a minute to come up, and then I'm going to put in my my private information. So, and then we'll get into some prompting with some network state information. So this will be interesting, and I started with a pretty easy one here, this shouldn't take too much longer. I appreciate your patience, and I'll turn the monitor back on. I just have to put in my private keys. So, waiting for this to come up again with a fresh database, and it'll just take me a couple seconds. And as soon as I put my private information in, I'll show you how we can populate it with network data, because the pyATS uses the information from the database to build the testbed, as it's known, dynamically. I'm not using a static testbed.yaml file. I'm actually calling it from the database information. Yeah, I know. This is unfortunate. Hey, thanks. Yeah, this is a really nice t-shirt. My friend Palmer Sample gave me this. And colleague. You should go follow Palmer on, he's doing a lot of really great stuff too. And thanks for joining. So this is just going to take another second or two. Sorry again for the delay. I always forget when we add a new model to the database, we have to completely destroy the original database. So there might not be too many times that I do this during the stream. We might just play with this code. Okay, so my good news is the database is up. Just give me a couple seconds to put in the private information, and we'll get going here. And this will only take a second here. And I think that's good. So now I can go to my devices. I can turn my screen back on. There we go. All right, so we're back in business. Fernando, I'm using the DevNet sandboxes. So I can actually show you that. If you go into DevNet sandboxes and reserve a CML, Cisco Modeling Labs, it will give you this topology. And I'm using 2 of these devices in my topology so that I get an XR and an XE. And then you have access to the CML here, to the backend and to the topology. So that's what I'm using for my backend. So I'm about to add those devices here. It's dist router 02, dist router 02. This is a router, and this is iOS XE. This is CSR 1000V. That's Cisco SSH 10.10.2176. Port 22, connection timeout 360. Save and add another. And this one is dist switch 02. Dist switch 02. This is a switch running NXOS. This is an N9KV. Here's Cisco using SSH 10.10.20 178 22 360. Save. Now we can go into our prompts here. So we want show IP interface brief prompts, and we're going to say you are a Cisco network state analyzer. Let's try that first. You are a network state analyzer. Please analyze the following Cisco show IP interface brief JSON data, and tell me if the interface is healthy. Let's start with that. So now we're going to go in here, and we're going to go on Demand Center, and here's our show IP interface brief button, and here's our spinner, and here is our code running, and we have a mistake, which we don't have to panic. So it printed, here's our interface value, and then our role prompt user. Oh, I think because I said maybe self interface value instead of just interface value. So let me bring down the Docker and flush it. Stupid little mistakes. And let's look at that code. And it's complaining about 965. This here, because I'm saying for interface value. So that should just be interface value. Let's bring up the Docker again. Sorry, you're gonna have to be patient. We just have to wait for the Docker to come back up, and then everything else is saved. I don't need to delete the database or stop sharing the screen or anything like that. We'll wait for this container to come up, and then we'll try that again. Oh, hang on, something wrong with my container. Sometimes I get this credentials thing, even though I'm logged into Docker and everything. It's weird. All right, there we go. Everything's going to come up now. I don't know what you mean setting up public key authentication. I'm just using username and password. I'm not using any PKI for these. Hey, Colin, how are you? Thanks for joining. We got a lively group here. So this will come up and start thinking about prompts for that data. Now it's show IP interface brief. I'm not sure if I still have my payload. No, I can't go back up. I could show you what we're going to get if we just quickly Google pyATS parsers, go to the Genie index, parsers, and show IP interface brief, and like on our XE we'll get this structure. Hang on, that's show IP interface. I want show IP interface brief. Yeah, that's better. So we'll get this little small data structure here with our interface. Is it okay? The method, the status, the protocol. So we could ask it like, summarize the IP addresses in this data, or I'm just saying, is it okay? And it's probably going to use this interface is okay. So start thinking about maybe commands. And I could actually, what I was thinking about was routing. So we'll do IP interface brief for now. Oh, that's the wrong IP. I'm so used to using a different sandbox. Hang on. Right, so there's a routing table. If I do show VRF, show IP route, VRF, management, interface. So there's two routing tables. I could just do show IP route for the global routing table. I think that might be fun. In addition to show IP interface brief, which is what we're going to get here, show IP interface brief. Now, I'm going per interface, and that might not be what we want to do. I'm interrogating it per interface. We could send it the entire device's payload as opposed to per interface, and that's something we could refactor. But for now, I'm doing it per interface. Now these are all up, except for the loopback. So it'll be interesting to see what the loopback says. So is my server up and running? It is. All right, so let's try this again. Show IP interface brief. We've already set up our question. So here's our pyATS job kicking off. And now that I've removed that self, we should be okay here. So there's the IP interface brief command. And I'm looping over each interface's payload. All right, so hang on. Interface value. Did I have self again somewhere? Stupid. Well, we did get an answer back here. And let's take a look at that one answer. And then we'll have to fix that code again, unfortunately. So we're going to go to results. Oh, because it failed. It didn't actually give us results. All right. Silly. I should have checked in both spots for that. So where was that self? When I'm saving the data, right? Down here. Right here. Now, I don't know. What does everyone think? Should we do it per interface, or should we send it the whole payload of the full show IP interface brief and then let it decide? That might be easier than per interface, as it's less API calls. So let's quickly, since we got to bring the Docker back up, let's quickly refactor that. And we're going to just, we have to bring everything back here. So for each prompt, we're going to say, and this actually is self. And I'll change the prompt before we run this to analyze the whole show IP interface brief. And then what I got to write here is that. And while I'm in here, let's fix this. Let's change this. So we're going to edit find in files GPT-3.5 Turbo. And I'm going to quickly change I just got to go to the docs real quick. models. Is it just 3-4? Yeah, all right, so we're going to replace that everywhere with 3.4. It's going to cost me a little more money. It's going to be a little slower, but I'd like to start using that for the larger tokens, as well as a few other things. Better answers. So Docker build -t, my tag, the name of my, and then the file, and then I'll bring it up. So the Docker's running locally. Yeah, so that's a good question. This Docker is running on my local machine. Did I not bring down the container? Docker compose down volumes. Yeah, I'm running Windows Subsystem for Linux 2 with Ubuntu and Docker Desktop integrated with all of it. So if you go into your settings in Docker here and go to Resources, WSL integration, you can turn it on for your WSL setup for WSL, my Ubuntu in this case. Yep, good question. So let's bring it up again, and everyone's going to have to be patient. I'm going to try to bullshit and fill some time while we bring this container up again. And we got to remember to change the prompt because I'm sending it the whole payload. And we can do some real fun prompts with this since it's not per interface. So we're just going to give this a minute for it to come up. And I'm hoping that this works. I think that's the code. It's just GPT-4 for the model. And as you can see, more capable than any 3.5 model, more complex tasks, optimized for chat, double the tokens, updated to September 2021. I had been using 3.5 Turbo with half the tokens, and but it was cheap. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on my token costs here while I start moving into GPT-4. I'm just going to close some of my tabs here. All right, so we're going to send the whole payload in. And thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate your time. I know this Docker business takes a little bit to iterate and to get it up and down, but this will all work now, and we can start to move into some prompt engineering, hopefully, with the show IP interface brief command. So things like, right, given this show IP interface brief, right, identify all IP addresses. Are the interfaces healthy? Highlight any unhealthy interfaces. I don't know. Just start thinking of prompts, start thinking of things to ask the AI about this payload. And I hope I didn't leave those stupid print statements in that are going to break this code. Let me double check that. Server prompt answer. No, I'm okay. All right. Okay, everything's come up. We're going to refresh this page and try our actually, we said we wanted to refactor the question because it's not per interface anymore. So, please analyze the following show IP interface and tell me, are the interfaces healthy? Let's try that one as a single prompt. And let's add another prompt here, right? So you are a Cisco network state analyzer. Please analyze the following Cisco show IP interface brief JSON output and summarize it for me. Highlight any IP addresses or unhealthy interfaces. I don't know, let's have some fun with it, right? Okay, so now we're going to press our button. And let's hope I haven't left any mistakes in this code. Now, I didn't have the WebEx integration, so we're going to have to read the output on the screen here or in my database output. We can add the WebEx integration maybe next iteration. But let's play with it a little bit first before we have to wait for the Docker to come down and up again. We'll add some new prompts and just play with it a bit. So this is waiting right now. Everything's running. GPT-4 apparently it takes a little longer. Apparently it's a little slower than 3.5. But we get better answers back. So that's what's happening right now is we're waiting. We're quite literally just waiting for the AI to get back to us. And depends, if I don't get a sufficiently better answer, maybe the trade-off with speed isn't worth it, right? Maybe we should stay with GPT-4. Okay, there's our answer. Now look at this. This is just... Okay, so that's one. You are a network state analyzer. Please analyze the show and tell me, are the interfaces healthy? Based on the provided JSON, the interfaces are healthy except for loopback 0. Here's a summary of each interface. It gives us all the summary, and then, right, IP is unassigned, interface is okay, yes, but it's administratively down, protocol down. 6 out of the 7 interfaces have status and protocol up. They've got IP assigned correctly. However, loopback interface 0 is administratively shut, which just means it's been manually shut down by the administrator. And now we're waiting for the next answer to come back again. We asked it 2 questions here. Now that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to me. Okay, so now look at this, right? We asked it to summarize it for me, highlight the IP, any IP addresses or unhealthy interfaces. And it basically gave us the same JSON data back, but as a list here. And it mentions interface 0 is administratively down. So now it's doing it on the NXOS. Remember we have 2 devices? So this is the Nexus list that it's given us, indicating that they're all healthy and functioning properly. Right, so cross-platform. Pretty good answers here in list summarization format. Now, hang on a second. Let me just check something. I'm going to log into the NXOS. Whoops. I'm going to log into the NXOS and see how show IP routing looks. I don't know if it has routing. Oh yeah. Okay, so it has lots of routes too. Now, okay, and then look at this one. Summarize and highlight IPs unhealthy, and it's got this wonderful summarization in human language for us. Pretty cool. Pretty cool from show IP interface brief. Now we could do another one. I'm going to look at the parsers before we move along. And I think maybe a more exciting one, let's say. You're going to have to bear with me. I'm going to have to bring my screen down and all that stuff if you don't mind. But let's take a look as their parsers. And we're going to just limit this to iOS XE. Show IP route. Yes. And what about NXOS? Show IP route. So we can do show IP route. I can build it. And then at a certain point, I'm going to have to stop sharing my screen to get this up and running. But show IP route might be a lot more exciting than, say, show IP interface brief. So let's bring it down. Yeah, it's pretty slick. I agree with you. It's pretty slick. So down dash dash volumes. And if you missed the start of this, I'm going to go, or if you've been with me from the start, we're going to do this right from scratch, from start to finish here. Let me flush my containers. And we're going to start. Okay, this is going to take a little bit of time. If you don't mind, strap in. Let's do this for show IP route. So the first thing I have to do is flush that database before I forget. And we're going to go from top to bottom. So the first thing I need to do is make some JavaScripts for my spinners. And I just copy and paste, right? So we're going to make a new spinner called show IP route analysis spinner box and show IP route analysis spinner. And we're going to copy our little JavaScript function here for a new button called show IP route button. And that's going to use the show IP route spinner box, and it's going to redirect to show IP route analysis. The next thing we need to do is make new templates. So in our on-demand center, we're going to make a new template. We're going to base it off of that last template we just made and do show IP route analysis and change this quickly here. Show IP route. This becomes show IP route from our model that we haven't made yet. And then in our on-demand center, we're going to make one more section here for show IP route. And then this becomes analyze show IP route button. Analyze show IP route, and then our spinner, and then where we're taking it to, and that should be it for the HTML page. We have to make one more HTML for our all results, and this will just take a second. For when the user wants to browse the results, for example. Okay, so I think we're all done with the HTML. There, are we? No, there's one more here to take people to... Oh, did I forget to do it here for the show IP interface brief? Probably. Yeah, it looks like I did. So let me put them in here. So there's IP interface brief state, and this becomes IP int answers. And then I need to make our new one, which is show IP route. IP route. IP route. Okay, and then I need a couple more functions at the bottom here for our new tables. and one was called IP int brief, I think. What did I call these things? IP route answers, IP int answers. And IP route answers. Oh shoot. Spilled a drink there. Not good. Two seconds, I need to go clean this up. Haha. Alright, sorry about that, everybody. I knocked the coffee over there. Okay, so where was I? I have my tables, I have my JavaScript. Okay, so now I need two more models in admin. And this will be show IP route prompts and show IP route analysis. And we do models next. And we're going to take our last two models here and replicate them for show IP route. Our prompts. Our analysis. We got to remember to update our model name here. Our field name to show IP route, which means we have to return it there. All set with models. Next thing is URLs. Now our URLs again go under our on-demand URLs, but we need to make a quick path. A quick path here in case the user wants to browse the HTML results. And this will just take a second to update, which means we need a view because we've done a new URL. So we need the view to match it. And in this view, we're just going to return all show IP route analysis objects from that database. And I'm trying to move at a decent pace here, but also not too fast so that everyone can see what's happening here. In case you haven't used Django before. Whoops, typo there. Oh wow, thank you so much. Where do you think I missed that underscore? Interface and brief. I'm gonna have to check that. Sorry, I just saw that comment. No, I appreciate that. So now we need to go into our actual folder. So we're all done with Brainiac. Need to go into our on-demand center and add a URL and add a view. And don't forget to miss the comma here. And we're going to have this to be show IP route. Show IP route. Show IP route. And now our view. And we have to add our model so we can call it from the data center, the database, and our new view, which actually is when they press the button that we're going to kick off the pyATS job. I think that all looks good. Close that, close that. Now what do I have left to do? The Python, obviously the Python. So we're gonna grab the last one we just did, show IP interface brief, and we're gonna copy both of those files, our job file, and our script file. Update this to point to the right script, and then update our script with the appropriate models and logic. It's going to be very similar to what we just did. So we're going to load our prompts in from the database and then loop over them. And let's move through them in order. So we're going to parse show IP route into a variable, and if it's not empty, loop over the questions. Prompt server answers, and we're going to change this from show version. I should update the other file while I'm in here doing this. That's misleading. Show IP interface brief. Sorry, I know I'm anal about that, but I don't want it to be misleading for anybody. And then this one here is going to be show IP route. And I have to write show IP route as self-parsed. Show IP route. And then my WebEx stuff, which I'll handle later. Okay, I believe this is ready to compile. I've already flushed the database. I'll stop sharing the screen when I go to put my keys in. But what we're going to do is docker build tag and the name of my, and then the file dot. It's going to cache everything. Let's just quickly flush that and then bring it up. And as soon as it's up, I'll share the screen, or stop sharing my screen and put in my my secrets again, which means I've got to head back over to WebEx. I'm already logged in, and make sure I get a token here. And then I need my other. All right, I'll stop sharing as soon as the server comes up. HTML, HTML. I hope I didn't miss it, but then again, I might not reference that file. think I'm okay. I think I'm okay. All right. As soon as this comes up, I'll shut off my screen. And I may as well do that now. And I'll get my secrets going again, everybody. And then we'll have a little bit of fun with routing. This is going to be exciting. This one's going to be really good. This shouldn't take too much longer. Again, I just have to put in a couple secrets and then we can play with the routing tables. This is going to be a lot of fun. Now, what I would probably do, if I had a little more time, is do show IP, a couple things in order. I would do show VRF, and then loop over each VRF and do the show IP route VRF, and then the variable of the VRF name, so that I get each VRF's routing table for analysis, and then globally show IP route. For now, let's just do the global routing table. Okay. Okay, there's a mistake in something here. Sorry, everybody. Docker compose down volumes. Where's this coming from? Models.py. Cannot import name. Did I miss a comma or something? Hang on. It's complaining about a model. Okay, I don't know. Something, a character got deleted in one of my models somehow. Sorry, I'm bringing it back up right now. I will be back, the screen sharing will be back on in a second. Something weird happened with a character got deleted when I was editing that file. All right, here we go. Docker compose up, give it a couple minutes. And we'll start playing with the routing table. And I'm pretty excited to see routing table. And then I'm going to wrap things up. I got to feed my dogs and get them out. I've been going for a little while here. So let's play with routing for a little bit. And then I'll probably wrap things up for the day with routing. Okay, come on up. Thanks for hanging out with me again, everybody. If you want to drop your name and say hi, if you haven't. I see Bitcoin in there. A couple other people. Steven's been joining. And this is just, we're right on the tip of playing with routing tables. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm just waiting. So I don't know. It's not the Postgres. Postgres is pretty quick. This Heimdall maybe I should just remove the Heimdall while I'm doing this development work to see if I can get this to come up faster. Although Heimdall's done and ready, it's my own container that seems to take the most amount of time to come up. Come on. No, it's... Hang on, I just built it though. It seemed to bring up an older container. Let me try that again. I just fixed it. Terribly sorry, everyone. You can't see my pane in the background because I don't have my screen sharing, but it's complaining a bit at that typo, but I just repackaged everything, so I'm just going to have to wait another couple minutes here for this to come up, and then we'll play with the routing. I must not have deleted anyway. I feel bad making you all wait for this to come up over a simple mistake in my Docker order of operations, but that's the way it is. Should be up shortly. And start thinking about the prompts that we're going to ask it for routing. All right. Yeah, I have to wrap this up pretty quickly. Hopefully this build comes up and then we can play with it just a little bit and wrap up the stream for today. So show IP interface brief and now show IP route. And route's going to be pretty cool. Any second now. Come on. No, I know. I just feel bad that each iteration takes so long. There's nothing I can do to make it go any faster. This PC I have is is pushed to its limits as it is with my development with WSL and Docker and all this stuff. It's as fast as it'll go. Come on. All right, everything came up. I'm going to populate my database and let's get the screen back on. Just give me 2 seconds here. Just take me another second here. And I'll put in a couple of prompts. And then I'll start sharing my screen again. So that's in, that's in. I need to add my 2 devices. Give me 2 more seconds here. Dist switch 02, dist switch 02, which is a switch NXOS. N9KB, Cisco, SSH, 10.10.2178. Almost there. And then let's add the dist router 02, dist router 02, router, iOS XE, CSR 1000B, Cisco, SSH 10.10.2176. And welcome back, everybody. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. We're going to add our prompts. So we're going to say you are a network engineer. How about just you are a network engineer? Please help me understand the following routing table. Just that. Please help me understand the following routing table. And then how about you are a network routing analyzer, please analyze the following routing table and summarize it for me. Okay, so a summary and help me understand it. So we're going to go to our on-demand IP route. Come on, this is our first time running this code. I hope it's clean. So we're getting our routing tables. There's the tables we're going to send the GPT. And it's thinking about it right now. So the first question is, you are a network engineer. Please help me understand this routing table. The next prompt is, you are a Cisco or a routing protocol analyzer or something like that. You're a routing analyzer. Please summarize the following routing table. Something to that effect. And we're waiting for GPT-4 to give us back our answers from, it looks like the NXOS first. And it does seems to take quite a bit longer than than 3.5. Even though the answers are better, it does seem to add some latency to the, there we go. Right, I'm sending it the JSON version. I wonder if I have to send it the raw routing table as opposed to the JSON. But this is pretty good. Here's the help me understand the following routing table, and it gives us this answer about how to understand the routing table. And then our next question is, summarize it for me. Default VRF, management VRF, with these great summaries. Just remarkable. Yeah, PostgreSQL database, that's right, running in its own container. And it looks like, you're right, for NXOS, that parser runs the VRF all, which is cool. And then it's summarizing the same thing for iOS XE. Now I could kind of cheat and go to our results and take a look here. And here's all this is the summary. And then this is, or excuse me, that's the explain it. And then this is the summary. Just remarkable stuff. I wish I had sent that into WebEx. That'll be my next phase. Well, so that's, let's see what it did for iOS XE. It's still thinking about it right now. Really neat though. 6 subnets with a direct connection of 3 IP addresses. Each has a VLAN. Multiple local IP addresses. OSPF is in use. Really cool stuff. And then look at this. Oh, wow. Just remarkable. And then the connected routes. Okay, well, that's going to wrap it up for me today. Thank you for joining. I hope you had some fun. And I might be back on tomorrow. Thanks again for joining, everybody. I had a really good time today.